The gift of light, the morning sun filtered through the hospital windows in soft, golden streams. Dust particles danced in the light like tiny stars. Maya Chen stood at the nurse's station on the 7th floor, her scrubs freshly pressed, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She had been working at St. Grace Memorial Hospital for 3 years now, and she loved every moment of it. Maya wasn't like the other nurses who dreamed of traveling the world or buying expensive things. She found joy in the small moments, a patient's smile, a successful recovery, the quiet satisfaction of knowing she had helped someone through their darkest hour. Her apartment was small, her car was old, but her heart was full. On this particular morning, Maya was assigned to the private wing. This was unusual. The private wing was reserved for wealthy patients who paid extra for luxury rooms and exclusive care. Maya usually worked in the general ward, where the rooms were crowded and the needs were endless. But today, Nurse Patricia had called in sick, and Maya was asked to fill in. Room 7 Depuv, the head nurse said, handing Maya a chart. Mr. Ethan Cole, kidney failure. He's been on the transplant list for 8 months. Very private. Doesn't like to talk much. Maya took the chart and walked slowly down the quiet hallway. Her footsteps echoed softly on the polished floor. The private wing felt different, calmer, more peaceful, but also lonelier somehow. She reached room 712 and knocked gently before entering. The room was spacious and filled with natural light. Medical equipment beeped steadily in the background. And there, in the adjustable bed, lay a man who looked to be in his early 30s. His face was pale, his cheekbones sharp from weight loss. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. But even in his weakened state, there was something striking about him. A quiet strength, a dignified silence. "Good morning," Maya said softly, her voice warm and gentle. "I'm Maya. I'll be taking care of you today." The man, Ethan, turned his head slowly to look at her. His eyes were dark brown, almost black, and filled with a weariness that went beyond physical exhaustion. He nodded slightly but said nothing. Maya had seen this before. Patients who had been sick for a long time often retreated into themselves. The world became too heavy, hope too painful to hold on to. She didn't push. Instead, she moved quietly around the room, checking his vitals, adjusting his IV, making sure he was comfortable. "The morning is beautiful today," she said as she worked. "The light is just perfect. Sometimes I think light has its own personality, you know. Morning light feels hopeful. Evening light feels nostalgic." Ethan's eyes followed her movements. She noticed the smallest shift in his expression, not quite a smile, but something softer than the emptiness that had been there before. Over the following days, Maya continued to care for Ethan. She learned that he rarely had visitors. No family came to see him. No friends stopped by with flowers or balloons. His phone would ring occasionally, but he never answered it. The only sounds in his room were the beeping machines and Maya's gentle voice. She would talk to him about small things, the weather, a funny thing that happened in the cafeteria, the stray cat she had seen in the parking lot. She never asked him personal questions. She never pushed him to talk. She simply filled the silence with warmth. One afternoon, as she was changing his bedding, Ethan finally spoke. "Why are you so kind?" His voice was rough from disuse, barely above a whisper. Maya paused, looking at him with genuine surprise. "Because everyone deserves kindness," she said simply, "especially when they're going through something difficult." Ethan studied her face for a long moment. "Most people are kind because they want something in return." "Then I guess I'm not most people," Maya replied with a gentle smile. Something changed between them after that. Ethan began to speak more, though still sparingly. He told her small things. How he missed the taste of coffee, how he used to work too much, how silence had become both his comfort and his curse. He never mentioned what he did for work, and Maya never asked. To her, he was just Ethan, a patient who needed care and compassion. What Maya didn't know was that Ethan Cole was the CEO of Cole Industries, one of the largest technology companies in the country. He was worth millions, perhaps billions. His face had been on magazine covers. His decisions affected thousands of employees. But none of that mattered here, in this hospital room. where his body was failing him and money couldn't buy what he needed most: a new kidney. One evening, Maya sat in her apartment staring at a brochure from the hospital. It was about living kidney donation. She had picked it up weeks ago, curious about the process. Now, as she read through it again, she thought of Ethan, his lonely room, his fading hope, the way he looked out the window as if watching life pass him by. The decision formed in her heart slowly, like dawn breaking over the horizon. It wasn't dramatic or impulsive. It felt natural, inevitable even. She had always believed that some people came into your life for a reason. Maybe she was meant to help him. The next day, Maya approached Dr. Sullivan, the head of the transplant team. "I want to donate my kidney," she said quietly. Dr. Sullivan looked at her with concern. "Maya, this is a serious decision. The recovery is difficult. There are risks, and you need to think about your future." "I have thought about it," Maya said, her voice steady and calm. "I have 2 healthy kidneys. He needs one to survive. It seems simple to me. The testing process took weeks. Blood type, tissue matching, psychological evaluation, medical history. Every detail scrutinized. Throughout it all, Maya continued to care for Ethan, never mentioning what she was doing. She didn't want him to feel obligated or uncomfortable. This was her choice, made freely, without expectation of anything in return. When the results came back, they were a perfect match. Dr. Sullivan called Maya into his office, his expression serious. "You're approved," he said. "But I need to ask you one more time. Are you absolutely certain about this?" Maya nodded. "I've never been more certain of anything." The surgery was scheduled for the following month. Only then did the hospital staff tell Ethan that a donor had been found. Maya wasn't there when he received the news, but the nurses told her that he had wept. The first tears anyone had seen from the stoic man in room 712. The night before the surgery, Maya visited Ethan one last time as his nurse. He was sitting up in bed, looking stronger already just from the hope that filled him. "They told me someone is giving me a kidney," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Someone who's a perfect match. They won't tell me who." Maya smiled and adjusted his blanket. "Whoever it is, they must think you're worth saving." Ethan reached out and gently touched her hand. "Maya, these past weeks, you've given me something I thought I'd lost. You reminded me that goodness still exists in this world." "It exists everywhere," Maya said softly. "Sometimes we just need to look for it." The surgery was successful. Both patients recovered in separate rooms, per hospital protocol. It wasn't until 5 days later, when Maya was finally able to walk the hallways, that Ethan learned the truth. He was standing by his window, looking healthier than he had in months when Dr. Sullivan brought Maya to his room. Ethan turned, smiling, ready to thank the stranger who had saved his life. Then he saw her, Maya, moving slowly, her hand pressed against her side where the incision was still healing. His face went pale. "No," he whispered. "No, it can't be." "Surprise," Maya said with a weak smile. Ethan crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping just before her, his hands trembling. You gave me your kidney? But why? I'm nobody to you. I'm just a patient. I don't. You needed it," Maya said simply. "And I could give it." That's reason enough. Tears streamed down Ethan's face. For the first time since his childhood, he felt truly seen. Not for his wealth or his power or his success, but for his humanity. This woman had given him a piece of herself, asking nothing in return, simply because she believed every life had value. "I need to tell you something," Ethan said, his voice breaking. "I'm not just any patient. I have money. A lot of money. I can repay you. I can give you anything you want." Maya shook her head gently. "I don't want anything, Ethan. I didn't do this for a reward. I did it because it was right." But Ethan couldn't let it go. In the months that followed, as both of them healed, he tried everything to repay her. He offered her a house, a car, a job at his company with a salary that made her laugh. She refused it all. She returned to her work, to her small apartment, to her simple life. What she couldn't refuse, however, was his friendship. Ethan began to visit her, Not as a CEO, but as a man who had been given a second chance at life. They would meet for coffee, walk in the park, talk about books and dreams and the beauty of ordinary moments. Slowly, carefully, something deeper than friendship began to grow between them. One evening, a year after the surgery, they sat on a bench watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink and gold. "You know what I've learned?" Ethan said quietly. "I spent my whole life chasing success, building an empire, thinking that's what would make me happy. I was surrounded by people, but I was completely alone. Then I got sick and everyone disappeared. Except you. You saw me at my worst, and you gave me the most precious gift anyone has ever given me." "A kidney," Maya teased gently. "No," Ethan said, turning to look at her. "Hope. You gave me hope. You reminded me what it means to be human.